Hey everybody, Jeffrey Beamer here. Welcome to Earnings Call. Today we're going to go over what earnings are coming up this week. It's a big week for earnings and there's lots of popular names out there. We're going to focus on some key names, also talk about the headlines of those that have already had earnings, and then we're going to get into last week's trade because I gave out a trade for you last week, and then we're going to give out another trade for you this week, all still to come. Welcome to the show. Today we're going to get into the earnings, and we are going to show you our upcoming earnings sheet. This is my rundown of those stocks that are most important on my list. Okay. And these involve stocks that we think are going to break out or consolidate through earnings. It's a mix of both. And you can see here as you run through the list that there's quite a few. This template is going to come out each and every week to our subscribers for both our Delta Neutral Breakout and our Delta Neutral Income subscribers, and those that subscribe to both, which are called our Delta Neutral traders. Okay. And so I have the headline at or the date at the top, and then we have what my weekly outlook is. This one's just very brief. This is just a working template. I think this is the final. But we'll kind of get into it. And then you can see here as we zoom into the sheet itself, we have it divided on the left for those earnings that are before market, and then on the right, those that are declaring after market close on the particular day. And so of the stocks that you saw at the top, we have over 1,500 stocks that are declaring earnings this month. Now we're almost through the whole month of July. Okay, we have 1,100 companies declaring this week. Now, that does include the first 2 days of August, which have several hundred companies each. Okay, but this week, we are focused primarily on just over 120 of those names. Okay, that means a lot of these names either are not optionable or they don't have a lot of liquidity in those options. And so that's how they make my list. Okay, we're looking usually at not only larger cap, but heavily traded with options. And then we get down to the bottom of this page where I will highlight a particular trade of the week. And you can see there that that's just a little sneak peek into what we're going to show today. And that is on Amazon. But let's get into some of the names. You know, this morning we had McDonald's, we had on Semiconductor, we had Phillips, and we had Lowe's Corporation. After market close today, we have Rambus and Flowserve, Chesapeake Energy, and F5 Networks. And then throughout the week, you can see for yourself the big names come tomorrow after market close, where we have Microsoft, AMB, Starbucks, and Pinterest are the top four kind of on my list. And then switch over to Wednesday morning, we have Boeing, who's been in the news quite a bit. We have MasterCard, always a big financial to see where the consumer is. A name you might not recognize, but Caneco, CCJ is the symbol there. That happens to be kind of a mover occasionally. But then Wednesday afternoon, here come some of the big ones: Meta, Qualcomm, Carvana, and eBay, all coming Wednesday after market close. But we're not done there. There's more. Thursday morning, we have Sirius XM, which everyone's familiar with, Wayfair, Roblox, and Hertz. Hertz tends to be a mover as well. And then after the market close, more heavy hitters coming out with Apple, Amazon, Intel, and Twilio. We close out the week on Friday with some big energy names, and ExxonMobil and Chevron. Also, the Chicago Board of Exchange has their earnings, as well as Fluor. And that kind of closes out our week there as we look at earnings. But let's take a look at what's happened this morning. Let's start with McDonald's. If we pull up the chart, McDonald's did move up. The earnings on it were a little disappointing. There was a revenue miss on McDonald's. They are still seeking out a good value meal prospect, especially in the United States, where they're targeting that $5 menu item that does provide some value. But interestingly enough, the stock popped higher today. Okay, it's up over 4% right now, a little bit off of its highs. But, as you can see here, the stock has been forming a base around that 250 level. And that could be, pretty interesting that maybe investors are seeing a little optimism here on McDonald's and are using this to maybe buy into the stock again. So if we get some follow through for tomorrow, meaning a higher close, that could be the catalyst to maybe retargeting that 270 and then upwards of 280 level on McDonald's. Then another earnings hit we had today was on Phillips. They blew it out of the water. We had second quarter sales growth. The stock popped over 15%. You can see the stock is off those highs. It's only up about 12% right now. Well, actually 13% as we move in, but nice consolidation as we head into earnings. And then that big earnings number, and the stock popped, and they were better than expected, and you're getting then the results up about 13%. And then finally, we had On Semiconductor declare this morning, and these were some of the best revenue numbers that they have seen since November of 2022. The stock has popped up 12.5% on that news, and as you can see here, the stock had been bouncing off that $70 level most recently. Around maybe 65 or 67, would be the latest kind of area of support. The low was 60, but you can see it's found a good base there between 60 and $70. And now we've exploded, targeting that $80 number. Interesting that you can see here, we hit that 80 number and fell right off of it. So that's proving to be some resistance as the stock continues to consolidate in this range. But hey, it's up over 12% today, and that's going to make some folks pretty darn happy. All right. So with that, we have all these big names kind of coming in, but let's take a look at what we did last week with last week's trade. Okay, last week's trade we did on a big popular name, and that was Spotify. So let's take a look at the performance here on the Spotify trade. The worst you possibly could have done if you exited after the earnings, which we typically do, is, as you can see, a very nice gain of up $1,100, which is about a 40% return. However, if you'll notice here, the stock gapped up to 342 on that trade, and as it came down, that's when we exited the trade for a little over a $2,000 profit. So upwards of a 69% return, probably as your best. And then if you waited, this would be on market close that you're seeing right there, down to about 39%. So for most traders that might have traded this breakout strategy, your profit range was between 39 and 69%. Somewhere in there is the max profit zone. But nonetheless, either way, a great trade on Spotify. So this week, as I hinted to you earlier, we're going to trade Amazon. Now, here's the thing with Amazon. This does move a little bit through earnings, but we have seen a very consistent track record in selling premium into earnings. Okay. And so this is a different type of strategy. We are going to trade an iron condor where we're selling two legs and then buying two legs further out. Okay. Meaning strikes that are further out to protect our margin. Okay. Or lower our margin, protect our capital is what we're doing. All right. So you can see I have break evens up there at a little over $200 on the high side. The downside is about 169, and so that's around a little over 10% away from the money. Typically, this moves a little less than 8% through earnings, so we should be okay as we head into earnings. But consistently, there's been a great track record of doing this type of strategy around Amazon. Because let's face it, Amazon now is a pretty mature company. It's got a lot of moving parts. And when companies get to this age and this stage in their cycle, the stocks just don't tend to move much through earnings. It takes something really spectacular to get one to jump a big through earnings. And Amazon, which used to move quite a bit, now only moves little, right around 8%, maybe even a little less. So that's our show for this week. Lots of big names. Be sure to watch us next week, and we'll review them all. So everyone, take care. Have a great trading week, and we'll talk to you again soon. Take care.